Get ready for the dictation. Start. In a brief order delivered in S.G. Bombardkare versus Union of India, a three-judge bench of the Supreme Court of India effectively suspended the operation of Section 124A of the Indian Penal Code. The provision which criminalizes sedition has been used by successive regimes, including by governments post independence, to suppress democratic dissent. Previously, during oral hearings, the bench presided by the Chief Justice of India, Justice N.V. Ramanna, had indicated that it was of the view that the law was an anachronism, a colonial era relic. Now, through an order on May 11, the court has directed governments, both at the level of the union and the states, to keep all pending trials, appeals, and proceedings arising out of a charge framed under Section 124A in abeyance. This direction was issued after the Union government filed an affidavit informing the court that it had decided to re-examine the law. The deposition by itself offered no firm commitment on whether the government would in fact recommend to Parliament a complete removal of Section 124A. But the bench believed that the offer to consider the provision, if nothing else, showed that the government was in broad agreement with the court's prima facie opinion on the matter, that the clause as it stands is not in tune with the current social milieu and was intended for a time when this country was under the colonial regime. Nestled inside a chapter in the Penal Code dealing with offences against the state, Section 124A defines sedition as any action, whether by words, signs, or visible representation, which brings or attempts to bring into hatred or contempt, or excites or attempts to excite disaffection towards the government established by law in India. The word disaffection, the provision explains, includes disloyalty and all feelings of enmity. The section carries with it the prospect of life in prison. What is more, right from its inception, the offence has been treated as non-bailable. This means that a person arrested without trial has no inherent right to bail. He or she must apply to a judge to seek release. As is only too evident, the law was always meant to be used as a restraint on dissent, to crush any and every form of opposition aimed at the government. Indeed, it was by pointing to these repressive features and to the trials of Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Mohandas Gandhi that K.M. Munshi argued so forcefully in the Constituent Assembly to delete the use of the equivocal word sedition as a permitted restriction on free speech. Should the word not be deleted from the draft constitution, Munshi said an erroneous impression would be created that we want to perpetuate 124A of the IPC. Munshi's amendment sailed through. The adopted constitution did not permit a restriction on free speech on the grounds of sedition. But despite this, governments across India continued to charge people with the offense. In the 1950s, two different high courts struck down Section 124A as offensive to freedom. But in 1962, in Kedarnath Singh versus State of Bihar, a five-judge bench of the Supreme Court reversed these verdicts. The court paid no heed to the debates that informed the Constituent Assembly. Instead, it found that Section 124A was defensible as a valid restriction on free speech on grounds of public order. However, while upholding the clause, the court limited its application to acts involving intention or tendency to create disorder or disturbance of law and order or incitement to violence. Stop.